Hello and welcome. I'm Mundane Failure, and this is Arena Cube Draft. Let's play. Alright, pick one, pack one here. We have a few choices. Kolaghan's Command is one of the most powerful cards in the pack. Crypt Breaker, very good in a mono black or a sacrifice type deck. Kaya's not bad. Menajra the Diplomat is fine. It gives you some incidental advantages. I think I just like taking Crypt Breaker here. It can be very good in like a mono black aggro deck or even the black red sacrifice deck. Mouth to Feed is also very good. Dusk Legion Zealot is very good in the black red sacrifice deck. Declaration in Stone is just insane removal. Sram's Expertise is also very good, and then Adorned Pouncer just can be a 4/4 double striker, which is pretty insane. Lay Claim, very good source of stealing the opponent's best creature. I think here I'm just going to take the Sram's Expertise. Here we have Doomskar and Realmcloak Giant, two very good Wraths. We've also got Fatal Push. Doomskar and Realmcloak Giant kind of go against the theme of the deck that we've already started to build here. Well, Fatal Push allows us to get rid of an early threat. Field of Ruin is fine, but not great. And Kogla is insane. I think we'll just take the Fatal Push, though. I'm pretty happy to see a Fatal Push. This pack is good. It's got some powerful cards. Magma Opus is insane. Mizzix Mastery, there's not a whole lot to really flash back for free unless you can overload it. Overwhelming Splendor is fine, but I think we just want the Gutter Bones. Here we have Bastion of Remembrance, which is kind of exactly what we're looking for in this type of deck so far. Blood Artist, a very good pickup for our type of deck. I'd love to have a Godless Shrine, but there's a chance we don't even play white. And Blood Artist is just critical to the deck. We'd rather be in black-red than black-white anyways. Callous Blood Mage is just very versatile. Otherwise, we could take the Pelakka Predation, but I think I just like taking the Callous Blood Mage. Can make a Pest, which is very good for us. Stitcher Supplier fuels our graveyard. Blood for Bones is a good reanimation target, and Malachur Rebirth can be very good. I think we'll take the Blood for Bones. It's a good way to recur one of our threats, and it's a good way to sacrifice a creature, which is good when we have Blood Artist or Bastion of Remembrance on the battlefield. This is our first pack, and there's nothing that we love here. I think we'll just take the Lithoform Engine and put it in the sideboard, because we're not playing it. Declaration in Stone still in the pack is pretty surprising to me, but we're shaping up to be mostly mono black, and there's no guarantee that our black-white fixing is going to wheel, so I don't want to count on playing Declaration in Stone, whereas I know I'm almost guaranteed to play Dusk Legion Zealot in this deck. Field of Ruin is fine. We'll take that. It's good against like a Field of the Dead deck. I guess we'll take this equipment, but we don't plan on playing it. Again, we'll take the colorless card that we don't plan on playing. Here, Jace, which is good in the mill deck, so somebody's missing out on that. And here we have decent cards. Archfiend's Vessel is good if we can get it back from the graveyard. Turns into a 5/5. Sword of Body and Mind is also good if we can equip it to one of our smaller creatures and get in for combat damage. I think I just like taking the Agonizing Remorse and trying to wheel the Archfiend's Vessel. There's not a whole lot of decks that are going to want to take this, except for our deck. And judging on how late we got that Blood Artist, I think it was like pick 5, we're pretty likely to wheel it. Here we have the Black Inscription, Inscription of Ruin, which can be very good in our type of deck, or Sign in Blood. I think I just like taking Sign in Blood because it's just card advantage, which we kind of desperately need in this type of deck. Here we have Rankle, which is pretty good. We have Agadeem's Awakening, which can rebuy a lot of our creatures. Witch of the Moors is very good if you can trigger the life gain every turn. I think we'll just take the Agadeem's Awakening. It doubles as a land anyways. Phyrexian Obliterator is probably the most powerful mono black card in the cube. Vraska's Contempt also very good, and Valki would be fine on the wheel. Demonic Pact, excuse me, Demonic Pact could be fun if we were able to pull that off, but I think we'll just take a Canyon Slough. Again, this deck generally splashes red for the Judith, and goodness gracious, I can't even remember what the other Mayhem Devil. So, I think we'll just take Phoenix of Ash. It's a good creature that can die a couple of times. Ayara, very nice. It's a good pickup. Can sacrifice a creature every turn, which we're happy to do. Oh my goodness, I am such a noob. I just passed a Judith. I believe that was a Judith. We're going to take Weaponize the Monsters, which is a fine sacrifice outlet. Ox of Agonis is fine, but we'll take the Archfiend's Vessel. That's what we wanted to wheel. Inscription of Ruin wheeled. We're happy to take that. I think we're definitely in the right colors. Yeah, we can take Witch of the Moors. Blood Artist and Bastion of Remembrance both trigger life gain, so hopefully we'll be able to trigger that every turn. Here I'll just take Crawling Barrens for the sideboard. Here we could take a Throne of the God Pharaoh. We're planning on attacking out with our creatures. And recast a creature spell, make a 1/1 warrior. Sure, we'll take that. We're playing a lot of creatures in this deck. And then Witch's Cauldron wheels, which is a fine pickup. Not fantastic, but fine. Call the Death Dweller is another good reanimation card, but I think we just want Nightmare Shepherd. And we can wheel the Call the Death Dweller, I believe. Midnight Reaper is exactly the type of card that we want in this deck. We're going to have creatures dying all the time. It's great card advantage for us. Other than that, we would take the Dragon Skull Summit or the Evolving Wilds. But we don't even necessarily need to play red in our deck right now. So, Shouldered, obviously very good. Gifted Aetherborn, insane. Gray Merchant, very good. And then a Blightstep Pathway, very good. So this is a hard pack. Right now we're shaping up to be a decent mono black devotion deck, so I'm going to take the Gray Merchant, and maybe we can wheel Gifted Aetherborn or Shouldered. Gonti is probably just the best card in the pack. And, I mean, Hagra's Mauling would be good. We are low on interaction, but I think our deck is trying just to win through combat damage and incidental damage through our creatures dying. This is not a very good pack for us. I think that we'll just take the Skidding Surveyor. It fixes our colors. We are definitely not the Field of the Dead deck, so I think we'll just take a Temple of Malice, and yeah, I mean, that's perfectly fine for us. We're definitely not playing the SRAM's Expertise. And let's see what we're looking at. 3 lands so far, so we're looking at 3 cuts. Sorry, make that 4 lands with the Agadeem's Awakening, so we're looking at 2 cuts right now. Anything that we draft would have to be better than anything else. And right now those 2 cuts just look like the red cards to me. And we end up just playing mono black. Chainer's Edict is fine. I'm not sure that we want it over anything in the deck, but it is a good pickup for us. Disfigure, another fine pickup. We will call the Death Dweller, so we do want to add that to the deck, so we will have to find a cut for that. It's honestly possible that we're a 16 land deck with how low our curve is and how much card advantage we have in the form of like Witch's Cauldron, Midnight Reaper, Ayara. I think I'm just going to cut the Agonizing Remorse. I'm not in love with those type of effects in Cube most of the time. Ooh, Gifted Aetherborn is a great pickup. It's really good with our Gray Merchant and now all of a sudden I want to play 16 lands again. Here we just take a random red card. I think the weakest card in our deck right now is the Skidding Surveyor, so we'll cut that. And we have a complete deck. And this is what our deck looks like in completion here. and let's get into the games. Be sure to hit the like button if you enjoyed the draft, and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Here we got a pretty good hand on the draw. Opponent has a Thoughtseize for us. I think that it probably takes a Yara. And it takes the Throne of the God Pharaoh, so... I mean, not my favorite, but obviously it could have been worse for us. I think a Yara is a better card overall. And opponent plays Island, does nothing, so we'll see if we can get in for 2 here. With our Gutter Bones. Opponent flashes in a Brineborn Cutthroat. And opponent misses their land drop here. I'm kind of inclined just to make them discard 2 cards. But I think if we get rid of their Brineborn Cutthroat here, that might be better for us. So we'll do that and just get in for 4. And if they want to trade with Gutter Bones, I'm perfectly fine with that. And they don't. Callous Deathmage here is just going to draw us a card and gain us a life, because we really don't want to miss a land drop like our opponent. And we hit land. Let's get in for 4 again. And we got the opponent on the ropes here. They have Gutter Bones of their own, but missed their 4th land drop. See if what a Gonti finds. 3 lands and a Professor Onyx. So, sucks to be the opponent here. They're in chump block mode, I think. And they chump block the Callous Blood Mage. And maybe it was right for them to take the Monument there. We never even played a Yara, so maybe they made the right call with their Thoughtseize. Although I think that playing Thoughtseize is generally just a mistake in this cube. This is not a very good hand versus Thoughtseize, but I think I am going to keep it here. Just anything we draw is straight gas, so kind of a weird / bad keep, but and then of course we top deck a land immediately. Oh goodness gracious, I screwed up, didn't I? Dusk Legion Zealot, perfect. So let's see what we draw. Hopefully not a swamp. Witch's Cauldron, perfect. An opponent has straight nothing here. We'll play out Crypt Breaker. If the opponent had a counter, they would have countered that. We'll get in for 3 and send it back to the opponent. Archmage Emeritus, Magecraft, draw a card. Okay. So let's make a zombie by getting rid of one of these excess swamps and get in for 2. And we are probably gonna sacrifice this Dusk Legion Zealot in combat if the opponent attacks here. Vraska's Contempt to take out the Crypt Breaker. We will sacrifice it in response. That means the opponent doesn't get to gain 2 life, and we get to send it to the graveyard for our Call the Death Dwellers and other cards of that type. And speaking of the devil, we get to bring back 3 mana value worth of spells. So let's just get in for damage here. See what the opponent does. I'm gonna block Gutter Bones. No? Zombie. Yeah, I would trade. That is a fine trade for me. Dive down to give it +0/+3, so in response we will sacrifice it, gain a life, draw a card. And Phyrexian Obliterator, great draw for us. Jace for the opponent. If they're going to mill us, that's just going to fuel our Call the Death Dweller. And we do not hit any creatures, but that is fine. Let's see what we do hit. Gonti. I like Gonti. Gonti is a good draw. Get to get in for some incremental damage. And we will take your Bastion of Remembrance. Let's get in for 4 at the opponent. Opponent decides to take the damage, so we are fine with that. We will say go. That makes us mill 2. Still no creatures, but that is fine. Languish for the opponent's gonna wrath our board. And I should have sacrificed a creature there, but oh well. That's not a big deal. because we get to make a Phyrexian Obliterator, which the opponent disallows, which is fine. So we'll play out Bastion of Remembrance and send it back to the opponent. That's our Onyx for the opponent.
Really want to fight me?
They're gonna make us sacrifice a creature so that they take damage there. Interesting. And we're gonna call the Death Dweller here, and we will get Dusk Legion Zealot and Crypt Breaker back. And we will put a Death counter and a Menace counter on Dusk Legion Zealot. Draw a card. And unfortunately, we draw another land, but that's okay. We do have lethal on board with just combat plus sacrificing a creature. Terramander for the opponent. That blocks, so they don't quite die. And Brineborn Cutthroat also blocks for the opponent here. And they're going to equip up Shadow Spear too. And here we draw Blood for Bones, which is just lethal. So we will sacrifice Dusk Legion Zealot. And we will return a Grey Merchant of Asphodel from our graveyard to the battlefield. And a Phyrexian Obliterator to our hand. And the trigger on Grey Merchant is enough to kill the opponent here. And the opponent lets the damage go through. And we take down match number 1. We get to go first here, and this is another hand that's a little sketchy that I'm going to keep. And we'll just see how it works out. Something you'll learn about me is I hate missing my land drops, so I'm bound to keep a couple of 4 or 5 land hands. And Baral for the opponent. Bastion of Remembrance is a good draw. No attacks for us. And I just realized opponent's on a Yorion deck, so they're playing a huge pile of cards, which I don't know if that's right, but they're doing it. They have straight Counterspell. Dang. An opponent appears to be in Sultai here. Let's go ahead and cast an Ayara, which will give us a 1/1. Let's see if the opponent's got another Counterspell here. They have a Thirst for Meaning. Into. They discard 2 lands. And Ayara resolves. Opponent has Expel from Orazca, which returns the token to our hand, effectively killing it. And they have a Mythos of Nethral, which gets rid of our Ayara. I think we're not playing mill against this opponent. It'd be pretty hard to mill out the 60 card deck. No attacks here. Next turn we're gonna kick this Inscription and hopefully get some good value out of it. Looks like we are gonna get some value out of it. So we get to empty our opponent's hand and destroy Baral and bring back our creature. So we get to kick it and do all 3 modes. They had a Find Finality and a Vorinclex in their hand, so I'm happy to see that. We get a 5/5, and next turn opponent will get a Vorinclex. We just draw another land. Hopefully we can outrace this Vorinclex. When it gets in for their 6 damage. We will Sign in Blood to try and draw a couple of cards to get us out of this. Hopefully we can find something good. Opponent has interaction of some kind. If it's a counterspell, I'd recommend they cast it, which they do. And we can't attack. We can't block. We're pretty much dead here. Well, we get to block the Yorion. I don't know if that was an intentional attack by the opponent. Callous Blood Mage. Let's just have a redraw here. A Nightmare Shepherd is pretty good for us. So we have plenty of blockers now for this Vorinclex. Disdainful Stroke takes care of... Goodness gracious. So, do we just hang back on defense? I think we have to. Because we can't really afford to take another 6. Well, let's double block and see what happens. Hopefully we don't get blown out by... Okay, looks like we're good. The opponent has nothing. Let's Crypt Breaker. It's a good draw for us. We can get in for 3. And looks like the opponent just straight had nothing there. Land. Go. Phyrexian Obliterator. Swing in for 5. Go. See what the opponent has. They're going to need a Languish. Oh my goodness! They didn't have it. We beat a Vorinclex. Good, good, good. Excellent. Well, I'd say this hand is better than our previous hand, so we'll keep it. And, ooh, Crypt Breaker off the top. That's what you like to see. We're just full of 2-drops here. I think that playing out Gifted Aetherborn is better than making a zombie because of the Death Touch lifelink. So that's what we'll do here. And maybe just make a zombie this turn. So they're going to get rid of Crypt Breaker, I'd imagine. I think it's wrong to get rid of the Gifted Aetherborn, but they might. And they go for the Gifted Aetherborn. I think that that is probably the wrong play, but I might be wrong on that one. We'll play out Gutterbones. And at this point, I think Dusk Legion Zealot is better served as a 2/2 zombie. Which we could have done at instant speed, but who needs instant speed? No non-lands in our hand. No non-lands in our hand for the Elspeth Nightmare. An opponent has a Thassa. Just for the record, I think that it is probably wrong to play a Yorion deck in the Arena Cube. I think that is probably wrong, because unless you have a ton of card draw, whatever you're trying to do is going to be so diluted. The power of the 40 card deck is that you're drawing your singleton threats more often. And when everything is a singleton, you're diluting that by 20 extra cards. I don't think Yorion is a powerful enough companion to have that type of sacrifice in the Arena Cube. In Constructed, totally fine. Play your Yorion decks. But in a cube type format like this, maybe you could get away with it in Vintage Cube or Legacy Cube, where the cards are just more powerful. But I don't think the cards are powerful enough. There's no Ancestral Recall, so that's just my 2 cents. One has a Mythos of Nethroi there, and they get to draw a land and blink their creature. I think we just want to use our mana efficiently and play out the Witch of the Moorseer. I know that we're not able to. Opponent misplayed, they should have tapped. Oh, they had Summoning Sickness, that's why they didn't. Because of the Thassa. Blink. I think we just want to be mana efficient and play the Witch of the Moors instead of playing an extra zombie there. Opponent buys their Yorion. They're going to draw a land off the top of their deck and blink their Dryad. Midnight Reaper, great draw for us, so we'll go ahead and play him out and hold up a activation on our Crypt Breaker. We'll get in for some damage here. If the opponent wants to kill the Gutterbones, we get to buy it back and draw a card. And they realize that that's probably not great. And they're just going to chump block our zombie here, it looks like, which is perfectly fine. Opponent changes their mind again, and they're going to go for the Gutterbones. 100% this time. Drawing a Swamp there is fine. We'll play out Swamp and say go. Opponent has Eldest Reborn. And let's see. Is this non-creature? Non-token creature? Yeah. So we will sacrifice... We'll just sacrifice a zombie here. We draw Phyrexian Obliterator, which is a great draw. And we get to get in for damage here. No point in rebuying the Gutterbones because we're just going to have to discard it to Eldest Reborn. And opponent has a Vraska.
I'm good at what I do.
I think that this gets to
And
just
what I
destroy
do
our
is
Phyrexian
win.
Obliterator. Nope. 3 or less. Perfect. Opponent's pretty much just dead on board here, so I don't know what they're thinking about doing. And just to go back to my earlier ramblings about playing Yorion, look at how different their deck looks from game to game. So in the previous game, their deck looked totally different to this. We're just going to discard this Ayara so that we have a 2-2 that doesn't have Summoning Sickness and can get in for more damage on the opponent's turn. Sorry, on our turn. We're just going to go straight into combat here. And attack face. I don't know what the opponent could have. Oh, they tap our Phyrexian Obliterator. Okay. Okay. I see you. And opponent chip blocks. They go to 1. We get to Agadeem's Awakening X3. Return an Ayara. And a Gutterbones, and that is lethal. And the opponent is dead. On to the finals. Opponent goes first, but we got a pretty solid hand here, so we're going to keep. And we're going to start with Swamp Go. I think we're probably just going to Gifted Aetherborn on turn 2. A Baral. We're definitely going to Gifted Aetherborn here. And say go to the opponent. Opponent foretells a card. I think the only foretell cards I've seen are Alrund's Epiphany and Doomskar. Let's go ahead and sign in Blood while the opponent's tapped out. And get in for 2 here. Opponent's definitely not going to block. Swift Response. Dang. Opponent taps out of blue to play Search for Azcanta, so we're going to get our Phyrexian Obliterator down while we can. I think that if the Foretold card was Doomskar, the opponent would have already popped it off. Phyrexian Obliterator is a powerful magic card. Patient Rebuilding, so they are a mill attack. And we get to get in for 5 free damages here. Nightmare Shepherd will make sure that our Phyrexian Obliterator sticks around in one way or another. We mill Callous Blood Mage, Blood Artist, Ketra's Monument. And opponent has a Wrath here. We will exile our Nightmare Shepherd, our Phyrexian Obliterator. It only comes back as a 1/1, but that is often enough to get some amount of value. We draw a Bastion of Remembrance. Let's get in for some damage. Opponent gets to draw 1 card off of us. So what does our Call the Death Dweller look like next turn? Probably just Blood Artist. I was hoping they'd mill over one of our 1-drops, but unfortunately it looks like that didn't happen. We draw Fatal Push. That's actually the first time we've seen Fatal Push. Funny enough. And I think we're just going to get in for 2. We're going to leave the Ayara back. That way we can trigger Revolt on Fatal Push if we need to. And we're going to get Blood Artist back here. Blood Artist. Unfortunately, we can't get anything else back. Call the Death Dweller brings out a Into the Royal. Let's go ahead and sacrifice that in response so we can draw a card. And we will get in for damage here. And send it back to the opponent. Opponent does hit a land with their Patient Rebuilding, so they get to draw a card here. And if they play a creature, we get to Witch of the Moors and sacrifice Dusk Legion Zealot, triggering Witch of the Moors and make them sacrifice at end step. So playing a creature here for them is not the worst thing for us. They just go straight to our turn. Let's play out the Witch's Cauldron and see what opponent has. Nothing. So now that we have that available to us, we're going to attack with everything. Torrential Gearhulk. So they get to block something, which is fine. Sublime Epiphany. Ooh. This is going to be really good for the opponent. It's going to be a really good sequence for them. So they're going to return Blood Artist to our hand. So in response, I'm actually just going to sacrifice the Blood Artist, which will allow us to get in some more direct damage to the opponent. And unfortunately, this token has the same mana value. Swift Response, going to take care of a Yara here. And then opponent gets to take out both of our blockers. We do get to Witch of the Moors and take care of one of their creatures here, but unfortunately, opponent kind of blew us out. Which, good for them. And hopefully we draw a creature. Ooh. I get to return a creature. I forgot about that. Here, I think... Ooh. We just want Grey Merchant. It's just lethal. Oh, it's to our hand. So, if that resolves, the opponent's just dead. I'm gonna cast a Brainstorm. I assume they're looking for a counterspell because they know we have the Grey Merchant. If this Foretold card is Alrund's Epiphany, they're going to need to take an extra turn. That'll give them 3 more mills on us and give them an opportunity to find something. They have Wishes for the opponent, casting Granted. So they take a Forsake the Worldly and destroy our Bastion of Remembrance. So let's just Grey Merchant for lethal. I mean, the opponent didn't have it. They should have just scooped, but what do I know? Well, this hand could be anything, so we'll keep it. Bastion of Remembrance, great draw for us. I think that we're likely just to run out this Gifted Aetherborn here and test the waters, see if our opponent has anything. Doesn't look like it. Opponent foretells a card, so we're going to get out this Bastion while we have the opportunity and get in for some damage. Opponent has nothing. Let's go to combat first and see if they have anything in combat. Doesn't look like it. Let's go for the Monument and see if that resolves. Resolves. Oh, Crypt Breaker time. Hopefully we're not looking at a Wrath from the opponent on turn 5 here. Cast Out's going to take care of the Bastion, I'd imagine. And it does. And they do have the Wrath. Well, we have Sign in Blood to help us recover. We draw lands. Land and a Fatal Push, so those are probably 2 of the worst draws we could have had there. Okay, so now we know what their Foretold card was. And get rid of one of these Angels. Which is Cauldron, not a great draw. We could really use some creatures here. Phyrexian Obliterator would be nice. A Yara would be nice. Midnight Reaper would be nice. Midnight Reaper. That's gonna at least chump block. Sacrifice this token here to draw a card. Gain a life. And another effing land. Goodness gracious. So I think we're taking 11 here. Maybe we should have saved that token to block in combat. That was just a mistake. Well, at least we get a clue out of that. One has to Forsake the Worldly for our Oketra's Monument. So, oh my god, another land. Goodness. I mean, we just can't stop drawing lands here. Pretty brutal. And another land. Well, that'll do it. We're only running 16 lands. That's honestly a little ridiculous. This hand will be a great one if we don't get, if we get flooded like last time, but I don't think that we can risk it. So we'll mulligan, and this is a much better hand. We get to start the turn 1 Crypt Breaker into a Gifted Aetherborn into an Ayara. So our curve is looking pretty spicy. We just gotta ooh, our curve just got even spicier. Just gotta remember that we're never gonna draw Witch of the Moor. So hopefully that doesn't end up mattering. And hopefully we draw a land so that we can curve into this Phyrexian Obliterator next turn. And we're just going to get in for damage here. And hopefully going aggro is good enough. Get the Either Born down. That's fine. We draw the land, so we're just going to curve them out. And hopefully this curve is good enough to beat this sweet, sweet blue-white mill deck. And opponent bins a Wrath. So hopefully that means... So that probably means they already have one in hand and they're looking for lands. That would be my suspicion on the reason why they binned that. That is an expensive Wrath. Unless they're just looking for their cheaper Wrath, which is also good news for us. Description of Insight. Return 2 creatures to their owner's hands. Well, that is fine. We'll play out the Phyrexian Obliterator. It is a more powerful threat. Even though we lose the ping value, I'm going to try and play it on curve as much as possible. And if we draw a land for next turn, we get to curve a Yara into Blood Artist. Cast out going to take care of our Obliterator. It's a bit of a bummer, but we do hit that land. So let's a Yara into Blood Artist. And attack the opponent down to 9. Opponent bins a Forsake the Worldly. Well, let's see here. Witch's Cauldron. That way we can attack with a Yara here. Let's just attack with a Yara. Well, attacking with Blood Artist was a mistake there. It was such a mistake. They have Inscription. Swift Response. Gonna take care of, I'd imagine, a Yara. They go for the Blood Artist. Let's sacrifice a Yara. That's such a bad attack on our part there. Midnight Reaper. So, on the bright side, it is only in the graveyard. So we have the opportunity to bring it back with Call the Death Dwellers, which is the good news in this situation. And it has Approach of the Second Sun, going to gain them a ton of life. We have to figure out how to beat them in the next 7 turns. If they're smart, they just hang back on defense, which is exactly what they're doing. Let's get rid of this Midnight Reaper. And Callous Blood Mage. Let's see. Callous Blood Mage is going to draw us a card and lose us a life. I'd like to hit land here. Well, Archfiend Vessel is fine. It's a good card to go in the bin. Allows us to get our full value off of Call the Death Dweller and make a flyer. When it gets to... If I were them, I would just put every card in the bin until I got to that Approach the Second Sun. But that's just me. When it did bin their card, so we're going to put this Archfiend Vessel into the graveyard. And make a zombie. And we draw a land, which is not exactly what we're looking for. So let's get Blood Artist, Archfiend Vessel. Opponent doesn't have a counter. Put a Death Touch counter. Just battlefield event, or you cast it from your graveyard and exile it. So that's going to go away. So we just put both on Blood Artist, even though they're useless. Makes a 5/5. Keep land in hand so we can make a zombie. And how far down is this? So they bin, draw, draw, so 3 turns away. So we need to start getting in for damage. Make a 1/1. We still get to get in for 2 here. And then get in for another 3. Because it's whenever any creature dies, not just our creatures. We get to make another zombie here. Opponent has nothing, so we'll just make our zombie here. Bastion of Remembrance. What an effing draw. What a draw. That's so good for us. If the opponent has a counter, they have to counter it. Why did they go and transform? Because they get to just get it out of their hand. Good thing. Thassa's Intervention. Counter it unless we pay a jillion. That's fine. Let's get in for damage here. And hopefully this is enough. I didn't do the math until just now. I think it is enough. 5, 6, 7, 8, and then they take 9 from the zombie dying. So, what a game. What a game, what a game. Beautiful. Perfect 3-0 with mono black. So, thank you for watching the video all the way to the end. I really appreciate it. Be sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed. Consider subscribing if you want to see more content like this. Unless you don't want to, that's fine too. I appreciate you either way. Have a great day.